Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. We are talking Corn Cuchulainn today. We'll also be talking Champion 515, one or two other little things to get a mention. I'm joined as always by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons. And as you can see, beside me also is the lily white assassin, Dylan Brennan. Dylan, great to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be on, Ian. Thanks.
Lots of great racing over the weekend. Tommy, Dylan, lots to look back on, but Shelbourne Park was something special the other night, Tommy.
Huge performances, left, right, and centre. There were huge performances. Young dogs coming through that might be superstars in the future. Dogs that are established that are doing huge runs. It was just quality. I tell you what, it made me think. We talked about last week during the hour, we had a chat about maybe the Derby prices and all that. If you think that market is settled now, no. Think again. There's so many dogs to come into that market and can play a part in that Derby yet that we don't even consider at this stage. It's like the overall quality is ridiculous. It really is.
Yeah, I had my first Derby bet on Saturday night, believe it or not, for the Boys side. We'll talk about that later on. Firstly, we are going to start with the Corn Cuchulainn, though. Dylan, I love the stairs. What's your opinion on the stairs? I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, no, I like them as well. I think 750 in Shelburne, it can be tricky. Just the short run to the corner can catch a few out. You know, there's the likes of Crafty Kokoro, for instance. I think we've been saying it for a long time now. The 750 will suit her because the longer run to the corner, she just gets left behind and she's too much to do. 750, she's good away. She can get on the bunny. It's a different sort of test, but no, I enjoy it. I think it's a good test for a dog.
Yeah, it sure is. Let's go into the heats. Tommy, obviously, Dylan mentioned Crafty Kokoro there. She was in action in the opening heat, racing from trap 1, 2-5 favourite. I was expecting her to come on considerably for her opening round performance. Didn't get the start, but did take it up pretty early. Tinnock Solace led in the outside, but that looked under pressure from Dark Ava. Dark Ava came charging into the fifth bend to look at a danger to Crafty Kokoro, but Tinnock Solace said, no, not today, Josephine. I'm going to stay on strongly up the outside, maintain second spot, and then turning for home, made her move. Got there late to win in 41.50, career best effort for Tinnock Solace. Well done to Michael Devereux. A fine display by a very, very talented stayer, but Crafty Kokoro was probably the story of the race in the sense where she led, she had every chance and just couldn't quite get home.
Yeah, she might have lost a little bit of ground the first bend where she got forced to check a little bit by the winner. But like you said, she went in front, and when you're clear like that in a 750 and you have the prime position along the rails and the whole lot, you should probably be winning. And like you said, Dark Ava even provided a threat to Tinnock Solace down, I think going down to the fifth bend and looked like it was going to go through, and then Tinnock Solace just kind of took off again. It was a big performance by the winner. Like, I have to say, to some degree, it's a little bit disappointing by Crafty Kokoro because when she hit the front, you'd expect that would be that. Like, we'd hope that would be that. And I suspect, not like I say, it's a little bit disappointing, but I won't be surprised if she comes out next week and goes like 20 spots faster. You know, I'm not saying that's not the level, that's not the height of her ability over 750 yet. But I just thought from the position she got herself into, and in fairness, she had to show pace to do that. Now, Tinnock Solace allows you to do that by going a little bit more, moving middle to wide, and kind of leaving all that space up along the inside. So I don't know what you thought. It's always slightly disappointing, but I'm not writing her off just yet now, to be honest about it. You know, she can break a little bit better. She can probably slip a little further clear. I mean, there's only a neck in it at the line. She probably, the first bend probably cost her victory, but at the same time, it's slightly disappointing.
Slightly disappointing. Michael Devereux, he's a good man with a dog, Dylan. They've always had a decent one about them. Tinnock Solace has been quite a star for them for quite some time. Is Michael down your part of the world?
Yeah, you'd see Michael sometimes in Newbridge, yeah, and like that, he's always had, you know, at the run, there's a bit of pace about them, and they always seem to have dogs that stay as well. I can't really remember Michael with, you know, dogs that are away and gone. They always like a bit of, you know, 600 yards, 750, and this lad's a good example. You know, he's a genuine dog, and look, he's a battle-hardened dog, in fairness. Like Crafty Kokoro, to be fair, like Tommy said, I'm probably a bit disappointed too. I thought when she got on, hit the front pass in the stands, I thought it was race over, and you're kind of wondering what clock she'll do. But look, it's only her second run over the trip. Like I said, Tinnock Solace he might be a little bit more battle-hardened. He's been there and done it. He's a bit more age about him, and look, he ran a cracker. He cut her off at the bend. But like you say, when Crafty Kokoro led, you're probably thinking it's race over. But I'd say there's still more to come from her. She's probably still just getting the hang of things over the trip.
One thing I want to mention about Tinnock Solace, you know, she's daughter Patsy Sabbath out of Glenlee. Glenlee must be one of the great broods of the last few years. She's had 131 individual winners in Ireland from 506 runners, over 75,000 quid earned. And it just seems that every week in Shelbourne Park there's a Glenlee running its heart out. Not always. A lot of the time for Liam Curley, of course, would have bred it, but Glenlee herself is very, very well bred. She's out of Kildallan Maid, so she'd be closely related to Ballydoyle Honey and the likes. It's funny that these pedigrees keep coming through. When it comes down to the brass tacks, there's plenty in the breeding.
Yeah, the Kildallan Maid line is ridiculous, isn't it? Like what she threw, and then what the daughters and that are throwing. It's relentless. Like it's just. I remember going through it. I think it was last year's English Derby or something, and I think there was a couple of dogs in it. I know the Matthews had a few, but that line is just it's unbelievable. It's one of the best lines I can remember anyway.
Yeah, certainly very strong line. Outside of them, Dark Gabe at Tommy, she's still there. She's still pitching. She just doesn't tend to have the early speed to really stay up with them in the early stages. But as Barry said last week, you still wouldn't be surprised. Some nights she took an absolute flyer and did manage to get that corner.
Yeah, that's kind of what you'd be hoping for because there are enough strong stayers that will be in front of her the way she's coming out at the moment. So she's going to have to do something a little bit extra. But again, there's a little bit more potential in her. Certainly there's more in Crafty Kokoro over the trip because she's less exposed over the trip. But Dark Ava ran fine. I mean, as you say, I thought she'd finish in front of Tunic Solis going down to the fifth bend. I thought she did. I thought she was positioned to do that. And I was expecting it, kind of watching her. I was expecting her to kind of kick now and all of a sudden and maybe provide some degree of a threat to Crafty Kokoro, even though I thought Crafty Kokoro was home, let's be honest about it. So look, at a little bit more improvement needed, but it was a fine run. It was a decent run all the same. Just one thing on the breeding, there are a lot of these brood bitches around the country that we kind of take for granted. And just because I am down here in Youghal, there's a bitch there, which is Bell, which yeah. She's had 179 winners.
That's in Ireland. That's in Ireland because I tipped them to win it in the UK last Wednesday night, and there was two of them, and I think they both won 2 or 3 races as well.
179 from 900 and something runners. I mean, it's like and I'm sure if you go to every track in Ireland, you'll find a brood bitch like that who's exceptionally good and produces winners, and are extremely important to the whole sport in the sense that they continue to provide, or them and their progeny continue to provide us with the good dogs and bitches. So. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I'm sure we'll come across one or two more. Looking down, I see Droopy Soldiers out of Droopy's Blossom. Seems every week or every year, Droopy's Blossom produces one or two potential stars, and I think she probably already had a juvenile Derby winner, but it seems she's had a Derby contender for the last 2 or 3 years. So there's another one of them. Let's move on to the second heat because it was an all-star performance by Magical Poppy. Dylan, we always knew she was talented. She's never. She hasn't often backed it up, shall we say. She's produced a run, didn't back it up. But this was, it was an encouraging first round effort. But this run on Saturday night was just different gravy. Second fastest time ever done at Shelbourne Park, 41:02. Only Red Gerard Furt has gone faster with his 40:86 track record. Away and gone, she wins by 10 lengths in 41:02. And if you were just sort of parachuted in, took a look at the 12 dogs that have gone through from the 3 heats, you'll go, well, she just wins the stake. Now, it's not quite as simple as that. Doing 41:02 this week doesn't mean you can do it next week, but it was a hell of a run. Yeah,
there's not much more to be said about it. She flew out, she went clear, and like you said, the clock 41:02 was, I had to check straight away. I knew something dipped under 41 seconds, all right, so I knew she didn't do the clock, but look, she's very good away. More times than not over the trip, she's kind of out in front, and like you say, she maybe she doesn't always back it up, but she has that in her too. She's a class bitch. Look, it'll be hard to back it up next week. It's when you do a run like that, it's very hard to back it up. But like I say, she's good away. It'll be interesting. She's in the really good heat next week, and I think it'll just be really interesting just to see after that what way she runs next week, because I'd imagine that would have taken a fair bit over. It was a hell of a run.
Yeah, Tommy, like this is where the form book, you try not to stay completely religious to it because you don't know how she can potentially back up a 41:02 run. Like, as I said, second fastest run ever at Shelbourne Park. To do it 2 weeks in a row would be pretty freakish.
Yeah, what's her record? She's in over 750. between Limerick, Cork, and Shelbourne. She's four wins, 4 seconds. Where's the section line? Where is that? Is that just before the?
That's the winning line. 13:47.
No. The early sectional. The first section that comes up
on. Yes. Well,
she did 192. She did 192. Tinnis did 209.
Yeah.
And then she's 30 spots quicker to the winning line the first time, and she beats the clock she beats them by what, 48? Was it 48 spots?
48.
Yeah. 48 spots. So she's relentless. Like when she's on the running, it's not just that she's running. She's doing it early and slipping the field. I mean, it was. I suppose to do 41:02, it has to be relentless. Let's be honest. So there isn't any place where you can kind of ease off a little bit. It was. In terms of the Corn Cuchulainn, most years it's the perfect performance in the sense that you just can't get beaten when you do that. Like, do you know what I mean?
No.
Reds Arford did a ridiculous time, whatever, 30 spots quicker again, or whatever it was, 24 or something. But like it's a perfect performance. But you know what? When you say with form and you doubt, or not doubting, but just saying that she doesn't always back it up. When you're looking at it next week, and we saw a couple of odds on shots get beaten the weekend, but when you look at it next week, you're kind of going, well, there's no reason she can't break as well. Even her last week, the 13:60 is pretty smart, and she just stepped up on that. So who's to say she can't do the same again, or even step up on it slightly? She probably can, to be honest. But like when you're looking at form, you're kind of going, well, like you have to kind of come up with something a little bit outlandish to say that she's not going to lead.
Yeah, well, I said that, like, she's run 12 times this year, and she's won 6 of them, and she's been second in about 5 of them. So, the only time she didn't finish in the first 2 was the night she got done on the corner in Mullingar over 600 yards. That was in the second round of the Cesaro, which went 4-7 favourite. So certainly she seems to have matured this year. She's definitely more consistent, no question about it. As you say, she was pretty relentless the other night. And if you do actually look at her recent form, and I probably did her an injustice, first 41:56, that's in Cork. Then the next night she was second in the final of the Deadly Kennels behind Ballybock champ, who absolutely took a flyer that night, if you remember. Generous Angel and herself had a great battle in the opening round. She was coming back at Generous Angel, only beating the neck, and then the other night 10 lengths winner in 41:02. Like, while it'd be a surprise to me if she recorded 41:02 again, you could see her popping out and doing a 41:30 to well and truly cement her place as the one to beat in the final.
But she's probably the right age to be doing these sort of performances. What I mean by that is, like, if you're 2, you can do a run like that, but I don't think you'll back it up. If you're 4, you can do a good run, but you won't back it up. But she's 3 years of age. It's almost the maturity, the middle of her racing career almost. If you say if you take that they start closer to and maybe finish around 4, she's almost at her peak maturity, where she can possibly back them up. Is what I would say. So I wouldn't be I don't know that we can expect a 41:02 next week, but I think we can expect something very similar.
Dylan Balnabola-Bolts was second. He's beaten 10 lengths, but he's clocking third at 41:72. It would have won the final heat. Well, in theory, would have won the final heat. He was always prominent. He was second for much of the way. Droopy Soldier looked like he was going to challenge him around the bottom 2 bends, but he kicked again, and he held him off by a length. It was a good run by Balnabola-Bolt. Another one from I'm sure if you go back to the Piercestown Mall, I'm sure she's produced plenty of good winners over recent times. Balnabola-Bolt hasn't won a race this year, but running well, and who's to say another good performance couldn't be in the final. And behind them, Droopy Soldier and Toolmaker Beach, 2 dogs with brilliant 4-bend pace. Didn't happen quite for the other evening, but they're still there. And as Tommy alluded to, the consistency, they're that little bit older now as well. Like, I wouldn't rule them out doing considerably faster next night.
No, I think they both have the same problem, as in they're not great away. I know they have that natural bend, that natural speed, 4-bend speed. I thought Droopy Soldier was going to be second the other night. He just couldn't get past Balnabola-Bolt. I think he might have checked up at one stage. But like that, they're just both similar in that they're a little bit sluggish out of the boxes. And I think, no matter what trip it's over, when you're running against this caliber of dogs, it's very hard to peg them back, But look, they're still there. They're still unexposed too over the trip, like we were saying earlier about Crafty Coral. And I wouldn't be one bit surprised if either of the 2, did pop out some night and do a run. Droopy Soldier in particular, I think he's kind of caught the eye now. Certainly in the first round, I thought he was very good. Time was maybe a little bit disappointing the other night, but like I said, he's still doing 41:79 himself. like you said, 10 lengths it doesn't make it sound good, but just the performance of the winner was just exceptional.
It is worth pointing out that Droopy Soldier and Baldabola Bolt would be in what would be regarded as the slightly weaker heat. So, that certainly gives connections hope. Brendan Murphy and Robert Gleeson of the White Eagle Syndicate. We'll move on to the next heat, Tommy, because it was muddling is probably the wrong term. It was quite simple. Generous Angel needed to get out in the bunny because we knew that Ballymac Belvold had more early speed in her, and he didn't lead early. Generous Angel led early, but you knew Ballymac Belvold, where he was positioned on the fence, he was going to force his way past the lady. That's exactly what it did. And Generous Angel then, she just ran a little bit clumsy behind. She just seemed to challenge everywhere that Ballymac Belvold was rather than switching wide and making her move. And she ran up the arse a couple of times and just couldn't get through. And in the end, it was Ballybreen Blaze, who was literally out with the washing early. They came home like an absolute express train, has limited experience over 6 bends, looks like it'll stay 8 bends.
And in contrast to what you're saying there about Generous Angel, Ballybreen Blaze actually produced a brilliant bit of tracking around the last bend. Okay, it's going a bit faster and the two in front are tiring a bit, but it just switched out to go 3 wide off the last bend and kicked away up the straight. It broke reasonably well, got shuffled back to maybe a share of last place at one stage. Like you say, that with the washing, looks like it has no chance. Just picked its way through the field, showed a nice bit of dash. Actually, it's almost if you watch it halfway down the back, when the other dogs in front of the winner move wide, it's just a huge gap opens on the inside, and you have to take it, and it did quicken to take it, and if you see it quickens up really well to go about a length clear going down to third bend and kind of holds that length rather than kicking off from there, holds that length to going around the bend and then quickened again after the final bend and tracked really well. It's a lovely performance, in fairness.
When you consider where she was, let's say at the third bend, now she's probably 8 off the leader, and she probably finds herself even more off the leader into the back straight. She's probably as quick from the 4th bend home as anything in the competition, including Magical Poppy. It's a fair achievement. It's almost just a shame that she's 3 years of age now. She only had 3 starts over 6 bends. That was her first win over 6 bends the other night. And after the Corn Cuchulainn, they'll struggle to get 6 bend racing for her. This is one that you could step up to 8 bends. Unfortunately, the likes of the marathon has gone from what would have been the Beam Night or Dundalk International. They always ran a marathon. No sign of them anymore. You see the way it's running into the Escape. It's worth a fortune in the UK. They could run it every second week. I'm telling you, it'd be unbelievable.
Are you an agent? I know, you're right.
It just breaks my heart as someone who loves staying racing. I love staying racing.
I know that.
This lady could literally be targeted at every 6 bend race for the rest of the year. She might get 4 races. You know what I mean? Or 5 races. That's wrong.
Yeah. She gets something tonight to start, maybe over 8. Is it 860 or whatever, something like that?
Yeah.
Or 850. Yeah. But and that'll be ridiculously competitive as usual. But yeah, you're right. And it is this point. Now you would be thinking when you're watching the race, mid race, you would be thinking to yourself that like the two in front, you wouldn't be saying, geez, neither of them will break 42 seconds. That's because they did Ballymac Belvold did for 42.04, Generous Angel 42.05. You would think that they'd probably do something a bit better than that, and the task might be beyond Ballybreen Blaze. And even though the time isn't good, relative to the other 2 heats, it's still, like you said, it was the style of the performance as well as anything else, just the tracking ability. When a dog's getting tired at the end of 750, they don't think their way properly. You know what I mean? They'll run into do clumsy things, or even watching. I thought Droopy Soldier in the previous heat, just at the bends. I know he's a big dog, and that's just at the bends where he could have gone through along the inside a couple of occasions. He just didn't, and I just wonder, will he be a bit dispirited by that run the other night? I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong.
The only thing I'll say about Droopy Soldier, he tends to find that in 4 bends too, so he's probably used to it at this point. He's not a dog. He's not a dog that's had too many clear runs in his career.
No, but I don't mean dispirited from he'll still be a fine dog going stepping back again. But I'm just wondering, he'd be a bit dispirited over the whole 750 yards and the length of the race, and this kind of happening on it's happening on 2 or 3 occasions in the one race now.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. So I just whereas Ballybreen Blaze cannot be tired if she's eyeing up and switching wide and doing things perfectly right.
Tired? I'd say she'd have gone around again.
Exactly. She can't be. She like you can't do things right at the end of a race unless you're in great shape and in great form. So it was like, despite the fact that nobody's going to think she's going to win the Corn Cuchulainn or compete with Magical Poppy if Magical Poppy does things right, it's still a smashing display.
Yeah, Dylan, it was a hot knife through butter really from the second half. In the second half of the contest.
Yeah, she's the type of bitch now over this trip that I really enjoy watching. You know, the ones that are going to be out the back and have to try find their way through. Look, the race probably worked out in her favour with Ballymac Belvolt and Generous Angel kind of getting in each other's way. And I thought Generous Angel, like you said, she just ran into all sorts of trouble and to do a lot of running. Then after that, especially Ballymac Belvolt, he's strong, but over this trip, it's probably as far as he wants to go. And but take nothing away from the winner, she still, like, you can say it might have worked out in her favour, but she still had so much running to do. And yeah, she came through late, and she's the type of one now, she could be hard to keep out of frame because it's more times than not, it's hard to get a cleanly run race over this trip, and she might be able to pick her way through them again next week and qualify.
All the sectionals would suggest she's going to get a clean look at them, though. And just judging by her tracking the other night, you can imagine her cutting in, cutting out, just going where she has to go to get a run. And as you say, in the second half of the contest, she's moving with such stealth that, you know, the dogs that are tying up, she should be by them in, you know, in a very brief second. You mentioned there, Tommy, about Droopy Soldier. Just drew me to last year's competition, and even to a certain extent the previous year's competition. And they were both won by two 4-Ben Greyhounds effectively. You know, Price's Jet, who's, you know, obviously toaster track record holder, an English Derby finalist, and Ballymac Kingdom, who was a star over 4 and 6 bends, won a classic over 4 bends also, Shelburne 600. I think the Corn Cuchulainn really stood to them. You know, as opposed to the likes of a Droopy Soldier, they were getting loose, they were getting free to show their strength and their power, and gained real confidence from the Corn Cuchulainn challenge. You have a feeling that that's not going to quite happen with the likes of Toolmaker Beach or Droopy Soldier.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not concerned in terms of Droopy Soldier going back over 4 bends again or whatever. I'm not really concerned about that, but I just think it's the spirit, and might be, and say I'm only guessing by looking at it, just the way things are working out. Might be a little bit of spirit in going over 750, continuing over 750 if things aren't working for him. You know what I mean? That way, and like he just ran into. Like, there were just a few points where I thought, you know what, you have to go through here. No, go on now. Now's your chance. Now again, and then it just wasn't taking them. And it's not that he doesn't have the pace. He'll win plenty of races again, but I just think Robert Gleeson can prove me completely wrong. But I just think he back over 4 bends, he'd be happier. And it could stand to me. He might just prefer to go back over 4 bends and just think, well, this is a lot better for me now, and be a bit fresher dog, because I just didn't think he really enjoyed the 750 the other night, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. In behind were Ballymac Belvolt and Generous Angel. Generous Angel is clearly capable of much better. I just don't think she's come right back to herself just yet. I thought she'd improve for the opening round of victory, where she recorded 41.64. She's gone back, you know, God, over 5 lengths, 6 lengths nearly on that run. She's certainly capable of better. I suppose the fact that Ballymac Belvolt got by her as early as he did didn't really stand to her. Ballymac Belvolt, he's been a bit like that. There were nights where he looked like he'd stayed strongly, and he won in 41.50 in the opening run. He did 41.63 in his card. But you just imagine a dog like this, if he is properly staying it on the bunny, you'd be expecting him to do a 41.20. And perhaps it does test his stamina. The fact that he had to battle for the lead early the other night probably doesn't stand to him. If he is to progress further, he's probably going to need things his own way, Dylan.
Yeah, I think he wants to be out in front, and I think that's where you see the best of him. Like you say, he's in the slightly easier heat this weekend, so he has a chance to do that. But yeah, he's about getting away in front. I think turning in front, and you see the best of him. Look, I'd put a line through the Generous Angel run myself, to be honest. I thought when she came out and nipped around in front, I thought, after picking up Magical Poppy last week and then Magical Poppy doing what she done, I thought we were going to see a big run again. But look, she just got done from behind. I think she had it coming together with Bling Bling Paul, and then she checked up. I think it was the 4th or 5th bend as well, and you know, she to do a lot of running. I put a line through that completely for her. I still think she's a force going forward, and you know, she can do it either way, in fairness. You know, she can come from behind too. I'd say she's stronger than most in it. So I'd still like to be keep her on side going forward, to be honest.
I mean, myself and yourself have a bit of history with Generous Angel. I remember telling her six Ben David, which was great. Certainly everyone at the racetrack, and she was proceeded to get beaten again. As I said last week, the jacket was falling off her on that occasion. She's still a player in this competition, no question. Dylan, what he said is right.
Yeah, it is. And look, she's quite, she's reasonably.
She's in perfect position in her career if she's fit and ready,
Yeah, she's reasonably lightly raced too, about 20 races or so, 21 races or something like that. I'd be a bit like Dylan. I'd kind of forgive it. Not that I'd expecting her to maybe to step up and do what Magical Poppy did, but I think she get out again maybe next week and get a clearer run, and we'll see a true reflection of what impact she can have on if she gets to the final, which I think she possibly will. Tricky enough draw in the sense that she'll have to clear Crafty Kokoro early next week.
Yeah.
Would you fancy her to do that?
I don't know. It depends how Crafty Kokoro comes out of Saturday night's race, of course. I'm like you. I again wouldn't be surprised. Crafty Kokoro, like we didn't mention it, but she did improve 9 spots from the first round to the second round, which not too many of them did. Obviously with the exception of Magical Poppy, fairly improved in Tinoch Solace, but and Ballybreen Blaze, but that only improved 4 spots, believe it or not. But outside of them 4, not too many of the rest of them improved. It's going to come down to, I know 750 yards, but as you said, it's going to come down to the start. You've Crafty Kokoro on the inside. Toolmaker Beach could make a nuisance of himself. We know he has the 4-bend speed to get involved and to just making use of himself. Generous Angel looked to go up 4 in 4, and Magical Poppy is going to go up well in 5. We know Tinoch Solace is going to go up well on the outside. Now that'll stay wide, but that second heat, that would be fitting of the final itself, no question about it. The opening heat is far easier.
There's a huge imbalance in the 2 semi-finals. I mean, there really is. As you say, that would be befitting of the final. That second heat. The first heat. What have we got?
You'd imagine Ballymacbelleville from Trap 3 will look to try and clear the inside duo, get on the bunny. Dark Ava is going to edge across too, but she's probably going to struggle to get around. Almighty Paddy, abandoned bowl of bolts. I thought Almighty Paddy ran well the other night. He's like another stride, and he's picking up Generous Angel for third. He stays on very strongly. Okay, he probably won't be able to do a 41.50 or a 41.60, but you can be absolutely certain he'll do a 41.80, 41.90 for you every night of the week. And that may well be enough, although Balnabola Bolt has done 41.74 and 41.72 the last 2 weeks. And, well, he looked perfectly happy in the striped jacket last week. He is a wide seed. So as you'd expect, Droopy Soldier is the real sort of intriguing one in the contest, because there isn't an awful lot of early speed in this race. And if Droopy Soldier did take a pop, if he got on the bunny, now he could do a 41.20 run to the 5th bend. And while he mightn't carry it all the way to the winning line, you could certainly see him winning 41.50.
Well, and it's a good point you're making too, because this will be probably for me, this will be his last chance over 750 in the sense that he either does something big here or he doesn't do it at all over 750. It's a great opportunity to lead the inside. If he can hold Ballymacbelleville early and get a run and maybe see what he's capable of doing. I'm not predicting that he'd do that. I'm just after the other night. I have my concerns, as I said. I'm not convinced that he will do that. Dark Ava has a chance if Ballymacbelleville produces its best early pace. Dark Ava has a chance to slip around behind us. Balnabola Bulls is going to get a run around the outside. I'd expect if you had to ask me one that would qualify, I'd say 6 would be the first one. I'm not saying it'll win the heat, but I think it was the one that will probably qualify. I'd be quite confident would qualify.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The rest of them depend a lot on the early pace and what happens along the inside, I think.
Yeah, Dylan, what you're making of the 2 semi-finals? Is there anything standing out for you, or are you sort of reading it similar to ourselves?
Yeah, Tommy hit the nail on the head there. I actually have it down here. I can't see how. I'd be surprised if 6 didn't qualify out of the first. I'm not saying he'll win, but I just think the draw is just in his favour. I can see a bit of trouble on the inside unless something absolutely flies out. I wouldn't fancy Maglas Brave, but he can come out. He can leave a box. He might just hold up a couple on the inside. Look, it's probably not one I'd be getting too involved in if I was having a bet, but I can see the bottom 2 dogs. I think the first semi-final might suit the bottom 2 dogs. Almighty Paddy is a little bit like the Ballybreen Blaze, that he'd be out the back, but he'll stay on strong. And I just think if there is a bit of trouble on the inside, I think he could take advantage and qualify. I'd be favouring the bottom 2 dogs in the first heat, just with the chance of trouble on the inside.
Yeah, no, two very intriguing semi-finals. We have less than, what do we have? We have just over 2 minutes of action left in the Corn Cuchulainn. And yes, outside of Magical Poppy, it's very tricky to sort of pick out the likely ones. Magical Poppy, if she produces a run the other night 2 more times, she'll probably win the competition. But still, it's a 6 Ben Classic, and they have to produce 4 runs over the trip. That's the real test, the 4 weeks in a row, and that's where we'll sort of see, the likes of the Bradley and Blaze and Almighty Paddy and these, they might just come to the fore a bit more than they are at present. Now, they'll still have to improve considerably to beat a Magical Poppy, but we'll see, and we look forward to the semi-finals on Saturday night. Also at Shelbourne Park last Saturday night, gentlemen, were the semi-finals of the Shelburne Champion 550. If you looked at the previous round's form, you'll go, well, I can see no reason why Droopy's Nice One can't back up that run, and Vincenzo, both returned 3-1 against dogs who they beat the previous night, who were shorter than them. In the opening heat, Droopy's Nice One came through to win by 4 lengths from Pablo Escobar and Ballymacben. That doesn't tell the story, of course. 2 in a row went up strongly up the middle. Deadly Showtime on just in behind them, and Droopy's Nice One on their outside. 2 in a row for me, took just one easy step going into the opening corner. And that was the difference. Got clipped from behind by Deadly Showtime. They both got balked. Droopy's Nice One is left clear. At the point, I think she was in the perfect position to challenge anyway, considering what she did the previous week. She wins in 29.32. Tommy, she has come roaring back to the form that we saw in the early rounds of the Kirby. She looked a superstar then. She's starting to look a superstar again.
Yeah, and I'm glad she is, because she kind of just seemed to fade a little bit away from that form, the form behind Swords Rex in Clonmel and the form in the early rounds of the Kirby. This is a smashing performance again. Yes, she had to take advantage. You're right. Deadly Showtime was showing the pace into the bend, seemed to clip 2 in a row, and it kind of impacted both of them. Neither had a chance after that. Droopy's Nice One was close enough anyway, within probably 3/4 of a length at that stage anyway, and just skipped away, and the race is over. Just want to go back to the point you made about the prices, the 3-1, both of those. And it always impresses me. And when you're not there, you can't form a proper opinion if you're not in Shelbourne Park and see how available these prices are, right? But now, they have advantages because you'll have a bigger crowd in Shelbourne than anywhere else and whatever else. But it always impresses me that there's clearly a strong opinion, because the prices are, look at the semi-final of the Oaks, the bitch that won the Oaks. She was 4-1 to win her semi-final heat.
Yeah,
which seemed to me, like a remarkable price, and not whether you backed or not, that doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is the price was huge. If you had an opinion that you liked her, you were getting a huge price, and that happens on a regular basis. Yes, they have the market, they have a stronger market, and there's more money floating about. I'm sure it's not like it was in the old days, Ian, but there's still a lot of money floating about, and there is a big market. But it always impresses me that those prices, you can get value at Shelbourne Park. And it just needs to be more widely available to us all, I think. And from Shelbourne as well. It does impress me. I just want to make that point, because there's a couple of times over the last while it kind of hit me, what you're getting. You're getting what I call competitive prices at Shelbourne Park, which is what you should be getting, because if you're not getting those, you're falling behind every other sport out there right now. When you think you can bet on horse races to 1% a runner in races and whatever else, and that might go over the heads of a lot of people. But actually, it is quite important. Yeah. Because like in the old days, you might have got away with betting to 140, 150, 160. You don't do that. You can't get away with that anymore. There's too much competition for everybody's penny now if they want to have a bet. So it just does impress me, and it has hit home quite a bit when we've been talking about this, and I've been looking down at the prices going, geez, I wonder, was that really available for long, or was that just put up with 2 seconds to go, throw out the 3-1 there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, with Shelbourne Park, it certainly was available. You know what I mean?
Because... But when you're not there, you can't be 100% certain. But I always look at these prices. Sometimes you just go, wow. I know if I was going elsewhere, it'd probably be 5-4 and 2-1. And you're kind of going, I'm not trying to be smart. I'm not trying to run anybody down.
A tenner double the two of them, pays 160 quid. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, and this is why I wanted to make the point now was because you said that the 2 heats were won by greyhounds who were 3-1, having already beaten the favourites in the previous week. So obviously there was an opinion that the draw wasn't going to suit, or there was some degree of luck, or even quite rightly that the thought was that the other Kobe in the second heat would get away, and that Vincenzo had a tricky enough draw and might struggle to get a run against the other Kobe. And the other Kobe did get away. But Vincenzo just proved that last week's run was no fluke, and he's a dog that's massively on the up. So there was, there were opinions there, and there were good reasons for the opinions. And even though this time people who stuck with the dogs from last week got paid out, it won't always happen. Like, you just have to respect the fact that there is a strong opinion there, and that is massively important for the future of betting on greyhound racing.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. We can't forget, it is a gambling medium. It's a betting sport. Do you know what I mean? Always has been a huge part of the sport, and long may that continue. Despite the pressure that's going on the betting industry at moment. Dylan, the opening heat, we'll get back to her. Droopy's nice one. She had looked to start her in her career. Murtlahi's going through an absolute purple patch at the moment, but Droopy's nice one. While there was doubts in the early days where I don't know what trip she wants, and I don't know what track she wants, and I don't know what box she wants. Now it's confirmed. She wants 550 yards Shelbourne Park, and she is a middle to wide seed. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I think it was the Kirby. She ran in the Limerick. I think she drew trap one in if I'm not mistaken, the first 2 rounds and won. I remember thinking, she keeps drawing one, she's going to take some beating, and here she is now, a wide seed on her, and probably going to go off favoured or whatever for the final. But no, look, she's a brilliant bitch. She showed that from day one down in Clonmel. I think she just got touched. She got touched off in the final down there.
Yeah, by a certain what was his name? Oh, that's right, Swords Rex. You know, that form's working out pretty good at this stage. Oh, Dylan's on mute. Someone must be ringing him. Must be his bookmaker. There's Dylan. He's back.
No, sorry. Yeah, no. Look, she's a wide seed on her now, and since she switched to wide, she's just, she's bounced right back to her best. It's a pity what happened at the first bend, because I think if 2 in a row had skipped around in front, and Droopy's nice one was always going to turn handy anyway. She was going to qualify, but it's a pity what happened to 2 in a row. Deadly Showtime. Obviously, they lost all chance to bend. But look, when Droopy's nice one gets on the money, I know you had a lot of strong runners in behind her, but you're not going to peg her back. She's fairly strong herself, and she's got great makeup in the final now as well. And like you say, Murtlahi can't do anything wrong, so she could be a tough nut to crack now.
Yeah, Tommy, in behind her, Pablo Escobar, who I know has been well backed for the competition. He's now 8-0, but there's no question he's an immensely fast greyhound. But I think we will have to wait for 600 yards to see the best of him.
Yeah, and to be fair to the winner as well, she probably just lacks a tiny little bit of early pace, and she's going to have to put herself in a similar position that she put herself in the other night to win races at this level. And as it gets even tighter again, and we start looking at derbies, because
isn't she remarkably similar to Droopy's Gloss, Raha Mofo, all these Murtlahi trained bitches, where their weakest point is probably just that few yards into the corner, but if they get around, God, they're so strong.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's just literally those 20 yards into the bend where I worry about where she's going to position herself out of the first 2 bends, because that's key to her chance. She probably doesn't, like the night she got knocked out of the Kirby, and there might be 100 reasons for it. It doesn't matter. But again, she was in trap 4. She went up reasonably well. She went up in a similar sort of vein as she went up, maybe, yeah, similar enough to the other night, in the sense that she wasn't in front. She was close enough to kind of get a run, but she just didn't. It probably didn't happen for her on the night. There might have been something else on the night. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, there's a bit of a pattern there. She's in brilliant form. She's a superb bitch. We raved about her over the last couple of months, and with good reason. When they do 29.32, they're really, really truly top class. But it's just for those few yards, a bit like you say about Pablo Escobar. It's those yards that you need. He's going to be further back, but you need to position yourself really well at this level of competition, because they don't come back to you in Shelbourne Park. They don't come back in the Derby, certainly. We've kind of talked a little bit about how it's somewhere between a 525 and a 550, in the sense that the dogs that don't necessarily stay 550 can go and win the Derby, or don't get brilliantly strongly. Where they do the best they're running is in the first 100 yards or so. So I think if she's going to compete at that level, she's going to have to sharpen up a tiny bit. Pablo Escobar is going to have to sharpen up quite a bit more than that, because he tends not to lead. As you said, he's without a win yet, but he's been running in serious company. He's in the unraced in Kilkenny. He's in Shelbourne Park. He started off in A1 company, beating the length, and then he's up in full open company, running against the other Kobe, Ballymacben, Droopy's nice one. Like, he couldn't be tougher. I think at this stage, and he probably won't get in this competition, but he deserves a breakthrough win, or a slight ease somewhere, that he can get a victory and see that spark him a little bit, that he might just see things can work a different way for him. So
The slight ease is going to be a problem, though. You know what I mean? Like,
it is, of course, it is.
Because he's proven that he can compete at this level. That's the problem.
Yeah, but he just does need, for his own sake, and I don't look. You can argue all day and night whether for horses or dogs that there's any such thing as confidence, but it would be no harm for him to get out in front and win a race and just see what it does for him. Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Like just getting that bit of clear look at the hare and getting after it, even all the way to the escape, just to see what it does for him. It might just inspire him a little bit.
I'm a full believer in confidence in greyhounds. I really do. I think it works. I think it's a thing. Ballymac Ben was back in third. Dylan, should I say? He's immensely strong as well. Very similar to Pablo Escobar. He does have the 3 wins in his card. Probably can go better than Pablo Escobar. It wasn't going to happen for him the other night until the traffic, as you said. But he's there and he's pitching in the final.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them in the final that are very similar, that they lack that early up. They're stronger runners. They do all the running down the far side and coming home. So it's going to be interesting to see who can get sort of first run on who. But look, he's still there. He done plenty wrong the other night as well, but he had a bit of luck on the side to qualify. And like you say, you need luck in this game, and he's in there in the final, and you'd be foolish to dismiss him anyway.
Yeah, moving on to the second heat where the other Colby was sent off, the odds-on favourite at 4-7, and you can understand why. Ewan Homer racing from trap 2, Tommy, was only going to go one direction. Unfortunately for Ewan Homer, he slightly missed it by his standards, and Hoodoo Brown came out reasonably well, and as a result, you know, a 75-pound dog is running into an 85-pound dog, and that was the end of their chances, Ewan Homer and Hoodoo Brown, while Hoodoo Brown did emerge in third. It allowed Vincenzo get around the outside, go in second, but the other Colby shot to the corner. Had his chance out front, obviously, you know, if he's still running very, very well, very strong, I still think there's better to come from him. He did 29.33 in the opening round. He's yet to match that. When he does, though, he's a big, big player in this competition. But Vincenzo, who's a dog that started in Toaster and, you know, looked a nice dog in Toaster, didn't, you know, pull up roots by any stretch of imagination, but here he is. He looks, week on week, he seems to be really developing into the real deal, Tommy. This is a proper greyhound. 29.30 tonight for Pat Guilfoyle and Peter Sutcliffe, who's now, it says South Australia on his card. He's back in Ireland. He rang me the other day, back in Ireland, and bringing over a couple of pups and bitches from the Australia. So he's clearly has his sights set on big prizes again. He already owns the likes of Explosive Boy and now Vincenzo. And Vincenzo is certainly a greyhound that could fly his flag for the next few weeks, who knows, into late September.
Yeah, clearly intent to making a mark, in fairness to him. And he has a serious dog in Vincenzo. If he's doing 29.30 already, with limited enough experience, especially around the Irish tracks, as you said, he came from Toaster. He does give away a nice bit of ground now. Does give, like, he's gonna run that middle course and run it properly, middle, maybe even. In fact, I was watching the other day, because I think you always have to be kind of careful enough. Mistakes do happen, but you know, if you say a dog's a wide dog or a dog's a middle dog or an inside dog, or whatever, they can make fools of you very quickly. And I was kind of going, he's middle to wide, but he's probably very, very, very middle dog. He kind of coursed that the whole way, and it does give away quite a bit of ground. But he's got serious ability, because you're talking about the other Colby, who's a likely race sort, who has competed at the very top level since the start, who has got really good early pace. The 341 that the other Colby did the other night, and we touched on these sections last week and the last couple of weeks, and talked about where we don't know where they were. Just wondered, did they quicken up a small bit the other night? There were a couple of 205, 206s. We'll probably talk about those dogs later on. But 341 from the other Colby was pretty good. I'm pretty certain that when things sharpen up and we get close to Derby, that'll be 335, 334, 333 from the other Colby. And like you said, he's a Derby player, because he's going to be in front in most nights that he races. And we know he can do the 29.30s. He has a 29.33 on his card. Beating Droopy's nice one, curiously enough. The draw for the final is superb.
It's superb for all 6 dogs.
It's but like you, okay. Let's not be harsh on the dogs. But Pablo Escobar, Hoodoo Brown, and Ballymac Ben are 1, 3, and 5. And they're the 3 slow starters, right? And then you've got the other Colby, Vincenzo, and Droopy's nice one. So basically, what you've got is you've got 3 dogs with some degree of early pace who have all of that space. They've all got space. There's literally a dog's gap between them, provided no, like, Hoodoo Brown doesn't all of a sudden decide to fly. But like, I think with 363, 365, 360, we know what he's going to do. Pablo Escobar, 359, 361, 355. Ballymacben, 369, 358, 359. You know what I mean? We think we have a fair idea what they're going to do. So you basically got three slow starters, or reasonably slow starters, who are dividing up three fast starters. It's actually a brilliant draw for the other Kobe. It's a superb draw for the other Kobe.
I looked at the draw after racing on Saturday night with a couple of shrewd individuals, and we sort of looked and went, I don't think you change anything about the draw. It's just basically ideal for even for likes of Pablo Escobar. He only has to concentrate on going up straight because he's not going to be challenging either Kobe. Hoodoo Brown is, Kobe's going in, Vincenzo's going up straight. Ballymacben doesn't matter. He's going to be behind Vincenzo and Droopy's Nice One, who you'd imagine will keep a straight line anyway. And Droopy's Nice One's on the outside doing what she wants to do, running around the outside of them as she has done the last 2 weeks.
If they were to make two tiny tweaks for connections, I'd put Hoodoo Brown in one just because if you start him in three, he wants inside. He'll switch inside. No, he'll probably get space to do it. Maybe he might struggle to by Pablo Escobar. I'd switch Pablo Escobar and Hoodoo Brown, and not that it makes that much difference. And also Vincenzo and Droopy's Nice One. And that's interesting. I'm not sure that Droopy's Nice One has the early pace to clear Vincenzo properly by the bend. Now, if you look at sections, you say it's possible.
Certainly possible.
But if you don't get the full length, if she doesn't get the full length by the first bend, Vincenzo is going to keep her out there. And they're going to let the other Kobe slip away. Now, I have to say, based on the draw, I'd be quite strong on the other Kobe, even though he's been picked up the last couple of times. I think the draw is it's ridiculously good. And I could see him being 4 or 5 clear at some point of the race. Now, you have got two exceptionally fast greyhounds in Vincenzo and Droopy's Nice One, likely to be chasing him. You never know. We don't know what Pablo Escobar could do. He could get the best run of all time for himself, and we might see what he's capable of doing. But I think the other Kobe has to be favoured for final.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get back to the semi-final, Dylan. Vincenzo, he's been impressive, as Tommy alluded to. He's got a good draw in the final. He's beaten the other Kobe on merit the last 2 nights.
Yeah, especially Saturday night, because the other Kobe had his box. He's just such a natural trapper, isn't he? He absolutely pings every night. He saved every inch of ground he could possibly save, and he still got bet. What was it, 2 lengths? So, going on that, like I went into the race thinking the makeup for the other Kobe, probably like everyone, is just perfect. All he has to do is come away like he does, and if he does, he should win. He did that. He saved every inch of ground. He still couldn't beat Vincenzo. So I know which one I'd like to be on next week anyway. I'd be on Vincenzo again. He's just improving as well each week. I think he's going to get a lovely run to the corner. He's probably not going to lead the other Kobe, but I think if he turns second to him again, I think he picks him up. And like you said, Hoodoo Brown is a little bit like the 2 of the qualifiers in the earlier heat. Ballymacben and Pablo Escobar. They're just sluggish early on, massive pace down the back, stay strong, and I'm struggling to get away from Vincenzo myself, to be honest.
I must say I was disappointed with Hoodoo Brown the other night. Maybe it was the bump earlier and whatnot, but he was struggling to hold on for third spot. He's beaten 10.5 lengths after turning third. I think there's far better to come from him. I'd be nearly writing off that run, but again, he's going to need to find he's got to need to find a landing gear and a pitch into the back straight to play any part of proceedings. I suppose the same can be said. Go ahead.
Sorry, to be fair to him, I think Oakfront Cadet was in 4. He went in on top of him, and the new and Homer dog came out. So he lost a lot of momentum early on. Oakfront Cadet himself, to be fair, is strong. Probably had to do a lot of running to get into the position. Yeah. I was watching it back from Buzz. I turned it off. I thought he'd actually been knocked out. I think you called it yourself and you thought Oakfront Cadet had got up. So I was surprised when I seen the draw Sunday morning that he was still in it. So, but look, leaned down and he nipped through in the 2/3 spots. And like you say, you need a bit of luck, and he's still there all the same.
Tommy, it's a well-named competition, Shelburne Champion 550. We're talking, with the likes of the other Kobe, Vincenzo, Droopy's Nice One, and even the other 3. Like we're talking dogs that'll be prominent in the Derby betting.
Hoodoo Brown is 29.27 on his start, which is the best time behind him so far. So yeah, they're exceptionally fast dogs. It is a brilliant competition. It's somewhere like it probably hasn't yet got the recognition it deserves. And if we continue, it's a bit like a horse race where the quality of last year's run and the previous few renewals of it determine what it is in terms of grade. So it's like that. If we got a couple of renewals as good as that, with the depth of that, all of a sudden it will become a serious competition. It is like that's a serious renewal of it, but it would become that every year. But now, quite where it'll fit in in terms of overall, there's so much good racing at the moment. I don't know in terms of what dogs can be aimed at or will be aimed at it.
I just think it's been a natural progression for the Kirby dogs. The dogs that don't
younger
go to England,
dogs.
Yeah, that's been the way it's been.
But
like obviously, it is for the younger dogs. It's for 20 whelps, you know.
But like you said, for the dogs that don't, the Kirby dogs that don't go to England, so it's like this is why we're talking about the depth and why I mentioned the Derby earlier on and why it's not a settled market, is because of the depth of this competition, where you don't have the Kirby dogs and whatever else that might qualify to run in this competition, and that tells you the overall depth in the country at the moment. You know, the overall standard of greyhounds is brilliant. When you've got Droopy's nice one, you've got Vincenzo, the other Kobe, Hoodoo Brown, Pablo Escobar and Ballymacbin. They're seriously fast dogs. So it's a great sign of what's to come for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, let's talk about the remainder of the card. Explosive Boy won the finale, 575 yards. We know what he's capable of. He pinged out of lids, hit the front. Sentimental Lad turned a close second and really pushed him all the way to line. If you're looking at it just purely without the time, you go Explosive Boy, yeah, good run, decent run. We know how immensely strong Sentimental Lad is, how immensely fast he is. He's absolutely made for 575, 600 yards at Shelbourne Park. It's testament to Explosive Boy, who in his youth would certainly not have been racing over 575 yards, let alone winning over it. But he's much stronger greyhound, it seems, these days. Perhaps not quite as sharp early as he used to be, but a hell of a run, 30.75. He's not far off the clock, Dylan. It was great to see top greyhounds running over the 575 yards. It doesn't happen enough.
Yeah, no, I think he's at that stage of his career now where this could be his trip. Like you say, he might have maybe just lost that bit of spark early on against the top 550 yard dogs. He probably felt a bit more comfortable the other night, the long run to the corner, shooting down to the ground. It was a great race. It always is. I know you always say finishing the night with a 575 or 600. And they always throw up. You're never disappointed. It always throws up. You get a good lineup for it, and it always throws up a cracker. Did the other night. Sentimental Lad is what he is. He's, once he comes out, he's going to be doing 30-70, 30-80 most nights, and it's just a matter of if you can get ahead of him and beat him. He's a great yardstick. But yeah, I think Explosive Boy now. I think this time last year he was a strong fancy for the Derby. I'm not sure. I think a lot has happened since then, and I think this might be more his trip now. But look, it's still great to see him winning and putting up performances like that and clocks like that, but it was a great race.
That's what we want to hear, Tommy. Dylan's putting he's putting it out there. He says the Explosive Boy can't win the Derby. He has no chance at the Derby. I wouldn't run into the Derby.
This was a clever bit of placing by Pat Guilfoyle, because the dog he won the Select Stakes in Waterford, and he had run in the Race Champions in Tralee. So he'd been to two sharp tracks over, where you have to do things right early, and he just didn't. And he did. He didn't lead, but he did win the Select Stakes. He didn't in Tralee, say, and just got himself into trouble in the final. And I just think that this was a bit of clever tracking. Just get, as you say, you do like the confidence in dogs, just to get him out in front again. Like Sentimental Lad would have done 30.75. He did 38.2. Would have done 30.75 if Explosive Boy wasn't in the race, because he was just kind of looking and trying to get up. And you get held up that length, no problem when there's a dog in front of you. But Explosive Boy has won over 5.25 at a sharp track recently. He has he just that the sharpness of Tralee was a bit too much. There was an awful lot of early pace in that final. Maybe I'm like Dylan. I don't fancy him to win the Derby, but he's certainly going to win heats of it. He's certainly going to win heats of it. That's what I would say. He's still good enough to do that. Whether he do it over 5 or 6 weeks, I don't think so. Not for me. But I think it was a clever bit of placing just to get the dog back out in front and see what it's like again and enjoy that. So it was a smashing run. But like Dylan said, and you've always said about the 575s and 600 yard races in Shelbourne Park, they just never fail to provide something special. Like still. Two of my favourite races of all time were the Serene Rumble Grand Prix at Harold's Cross, the final when he beat Heavenly.
I'm going to say Hero. Yeah.
Hero, maybe.
Hero could be the
and the Night of Stars, one of the early Night of Stars, Ballymac-esque and Spartan Maestro, that was just, they were two of the great races of all time, I think.
Yeah, there's no question. We've saw 2 or 3 on undercards this year. You know, the likes of the Beach Avenue Derbies, the light finishing in the line, and it was just unbelievable. I've always said it to every racing manager I've ever dealt with. If you put a 525 yard race to the last, I can't say I won't hit you. We'll move on. There's 2 dogs I want to mention, both from the same kennel, both very similar profiles. Cuchulainn Hoffa. My first bet for the Irish Derby. He did a 15.76 the other night at the third bend. The heavens had opened up about 10 minutes prior to the race. The track was still very wet and sloppy, and he does 15.76, 28.10. I think he can take something off the 28.10, but the 15.76 in those conditions is absolutely startling. And we know it's been no secret that Michael O'Donovan thinks the world of this greyhound. He decided not to run him in Toaster because he wasn't comfortable with the track, with the dog. That's testament to the fact of, you know, how much he rates this greyhound. And I think if they take their chance in Derby, the 550 run-up will absolutely play to every single bit of his strength. He's looked the real deal the last 2 nights. I think he's an exceptionally talented dog, Tommy.
Can I have a guess who you had the bet with? Boyle Sports, no?
I don't.
Anyway, the reason I say that is he's gone into 16s with Boys. He's 33s available with Betfred. He's 25s in a couple of other places, Powers and Betfair. So there has been somebody else, either you or somebody else or some of your cronies have decided the same thing, that the price is a bit too big for Cuchulainn Hoffa. Yeah, he's a serious dog, and like you say, we've talked about it a few minutes ago. We've talked about it a lot over the last year. You know, the early pace is going to be key in the Derby when there's so much depth and there's so much early pace among greyhounds this year, that you're getting out in front. Those that didn't show the best of it. It's why like Ballinbola Ed is favoured for the Derby at the moment, 12-1 or so, and he's probably not going to lead in the latter stages of the Derby because of the early pace there. It's not to say that he can't win it, because he's an exceptional greyhound, but I loved like this card. This card is close to a Derby style card in terms of top to bottom in Shelburne. The other night, the quality was so good. Michael O'Donovan has another dog we'll be talking about in a minute, and did the exact same time. But it was fascinating to hear you talk about this, because you mentioned it before we came on about the rain coming and how this run had to be upgraded. Like, I wouldn't know much about the sections down to third bend. 76 is that what you said?
15.76. Yeah.
What's that like? You know,
that's in the top 3 or 4 times ever done since that clock has gone in. Yeah. Absolutely stunning. So we're talking 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. You know, it was just a stunning run. Simple as that. Sadly, Droopy's Optimum got hurt in the race. He actually had the fastest time ever recorded. He did a 15.68, which was, you know, we were left sort of, you know, rubbing our eyes after that run in his previous outing. But no, Cuchulainn Hoffa he just really does look the part. He's the son of Droopy Sydney Cuchulainn. He's just gone 2 years of age. You know, he ran in the juvenile, he ran the early rounds at the Kirby. It just didn't quite happen for him. Consistency has been an issue, but that's 2 nights in a row now. He's after producing at Shelbourne Park. And as I said, when Michael O'Donovan thinks an awful lot of a greyhound like this, you know, that's enough for me.
Yeah, and I'd love to know what he thinks of Another Holiday as well, who ran a little later on the card and posted the same time off a 1 spot quicker early section, 205 as opposed to 206. I'm not sure what the section was in the middle of it. You might have it written there. If you don't, I'll get it here on.
He did 15.88.
Only his 5th ever run.
So the idea that Cuchulainn Hoffa off Another Holiday start was still 12 lengths or 12 spots faster than him in much wetter conditions just screams out to me. Now, don't get me wrong, I was so impressed with Another Holiday. Dylan, talk to me about Cuchulainn Hoffa and Another Holiday.
Yeah, I think he's starting to trap better now, and that's the big thing. I think that was always his downfall. You kind of said inconsistency there. I just think it was sluggish starts, and you're giving dogs a length or so out of the box, and you're showing that pace into the corner, and all of a sudden you're meeting the bend with dogs around you. Especially for an inexperienced dog, you know, it's tough. But he's getting the hang of trapping now, and I said it last week as well, or whatever, when he ran one before that. If he keeps coming away, I don't think there's a dog in the country that'll live with him, and that split shows it. Unfortunately, with Droopy's Optimum, I was when I seen the two of them against one another, I thought if the two of these come away together, that, you know, unfortunately it didn't happen. Droopy's Optum was turned over, whatever. But I just think if Cuchulainn Hoffa keeps coming away like this, I don't think there's many now that'll beat him. His pace to the third bend in particular is frightening. And like Tommy said, I know from listening to Tommy so far today, he's a big fan of Another Holiday, and rightly so, because I didn't expect that the other night when he came out through the bars, and to do that clock, like you say, was he 12 spots slower to the third bend or whatever from only his fifth race? Like, it's exceptional, and wouldn't mind going home with the two of them in the back of your van Saturday night. That's for sure.
Certainly not. I know the Holiday's now 5 from 5. Tommy, he's in October 20. They may not go down the Derby route with him. You know, he's very much though a juvenile Derby dog.
Just interesting that Cuchulainn Hoffa, when he didn't lead in his previous win 2 runs ago, he did 15.92 and doing 28.29. So, like, that's still a huge run, and it does put into perspective what Another Holiday did on only his first run at Shelbourne Park, and it's only his fifth run of his career. So there's more to come there.
You look at his sectionals in Kilkenny, 421, 424, 428, and then 435 in his racing debut. You know, like 435 would lead up most races in Kilkenny. Now he's doing 421 the following week. You know, he's obviously just a very natural, you know, just an absolute, you could set your watch by him, I'd say, at the start.
And nice to have some degree of form overlap when he beat Pablo Escobar in the semi-final of that stake below in Kilkenny. So look, he's an exceptional prospect. He has to, like, you know, you're right to say that just because two dogs do a similar sectional, say the 4 or the 205, 206 and whatever else, do the exact same time on the finish, it doesn't mean it's the same performance. You're dead right. I mean, you're 100% right. And coming out of the other day, Cuchulainn Hoffa is the more likely Derby winner or whatever else. But it will just be interesting to see how quickly Another Holiday develops now.
Yeah, very much so.
Will it be a case that he develops so much that they have to go to the Derby, or will it be that, hey, look, let's take our time with him?
Yeah,
he's at the kind of funny age, because the Derby is August, September, so he'll be like, he's October. So if you kind of wait another year, think that way. No, maybe you think.
No. I think if it was mine, I'd probably have a go. You know, throw him in.
Well, yeah.
What's worst thing to happen? You get knocked out the first, second round, or third round, or whatever, or he goes all the way. You know what I mean? And if he gets knocked out early, you have the Juvenile Derby to target anyway.
Yeah, well, like, to be honest about it, like, I don't know it'd be interesting to see the stats on the age of Derby winners over the years, and what is it changing or whatever else. Are they getting a bit?
All I know is that last year's was won by a younger bitch. You know what I mean? She was November.
So. No, I know that. But I'm just saying, it would be interesting to see with dogs, would the average age and be coming down, or what would it be? Because you're probably I have it in my head that I think around about 2.5 is probably peak, or 2.5, maybe the few months towards 3 rather than towards 2 would be the peak for dogs. But now, you know, you're leaving him to be 3 if he doesn't run the Irish Derby next year. This year he's probably nearly 3, and a lot can happen. I'm just interested to see how he develops over the next few weeks, just how good he's going to be.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that he's a proper tool, no question about that. You know, it's testament to the card the other night at Shelbourne Park that we're not even mentioning the second race, which was featuring the likes of Ballymac Fairone, Cuchulainn Calvin, Park Blake, Kilgrady Sydney, Mustang Jet, and Grab Du Bonanza. That was a hell of a race. Park Blake got to the front early, won well. Big run in defeat by Mustang Jet. He's a dog that I think is really developing into a Derby type greyhound. Keep an eye on him, and there's better to come from Fairone, Calvin, and Kilgrady Sydney, no question about that. Gentlemen, anything else to add? Tommy, you wanted to mention the unraced stake down at Curraheen. Some fine displays from first, second, and indeed third.
Oh yeah. Like I think it's a stake that's worth. It's the Dennis Linehan Solicitors unraced. It's a stake that's worth looking back over the few rounds of, because I think there's some serious dogs in it. Droopy's Rocker with Johnny Linehan's had been beaten in the first 2 rounds, showing stamina and only just behind Ballymac Joey in the semi-final. A little bit unlucky in running. Got on the front. It was out of trap 1 the other night. He moved right, kind of took the legs of Ballymac Joey, and that ended his chance. but showed lovely early pace to get to the bend. I don't think he necessarily is an inside dog, a trap one dog anyway. Maybe he's a 2 or 3 dog, but an exceptional talent. And then Bacchus Crystal, who you mentioned last week, who you really liked, I thought she ran a super race from the outside. She switched from going inside a couple of times to the outside, and that's a good little test of a young, inexperienced greyhound. Ran a cracking race, a little bit of a bump early, probably not enough of an excuse to say that she couldn't have won the race, but at the same time, she ran a superb race. I mean, it was 28-27 the winning time. She'd beaten 2 lengths. And the dog in third, who had been behind Bacchus Crystal, it's another Graham Holland dog like Bacchus Crystal, had been beaten by Bacchus Crystal in a trial. I loved it. Got trouble around the third bend, but I just loved the way it quickened and tracked around the dog to move into third place. Ian. So I think overall, the competition has thrown up some serious dogs, even ones that got beaten earlier in the competition. But the first 3 home, Droopy's Rocker, Bacchus Crystal, Romeo, Command, I think they're dogs worth remembering for the rest of the year.
Droopy's Rocker is in August, so he could go down the Derby route. They'll look to maybe get 2 or 3 more runs in his card. He looks like a dog that have no problem with the 550 yards, Tommy.
I would have said that I would have been doubtful about him leading the other night, to be quite honest about it. Even though he had what we might have thought was a good draw. As it happens, I don't think it's his ideal draw, but like he's done 349, 331, 336. I mean, they're all good sections, particularly for the very early stages of his career. So. And I'm pretty certain too, Ian, that the bitch, the runner-up, Bacchus Crystal, is going to improve. She's in August as well. That she's going to improve in that department. She's gone 345, 342, 339. She's going the right direction. And she, as I said, she was in 3 different boxes, and she's learning a bit. She went from inside to outside. I think it was a really good stake. Well worth watching the heats of it.
Yeah, we've done a lot of talking here this morning. We are getting set for a wonderful end to the Corn Cuchulainn. The Shelburne Champion 550 finishes on Saturday night. And the man, of course, we brought on board today, Tommy, had a winner on Friday night and he kept it quiet.
Yeah.
Talk to us, Dylan. You had a winner on Friday night.
Yeah, there's a syndicate that owns them, and I think there's about 7 or 8 in it. And I texted them all when the car came out Wednesday. I said, look, the dog's running Friday night. They all asked the same question, and I said, no, he's no chance. Absolutely no chance. And he pops out and wins in 28.93. And I tell you now, I've never been as shocked in all my life. That's the truth. But it was nice to get it.
Yeah, you know the old expression, they make liars. Yeah. Listen, Dylan, best of luck. Thanks for being with us this morning. We look forward to wonderful racing action. We'll have you on again very shortly. Tommy, again, the best of luck to you. We look forward to the Corn Cuchulainn Shelburne Champion 550 this weekend. But that's it from us on this Monday. Have a good one. We'll see you next time. God bless.